guys, welcome back to our channel. Today is another Bible study.
We could do a series, like the childhood.
Like childhood biblical stories.
Yeah.
Restudied.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
We could call it that.
That's what it is, guys.
That's what we're doing now.
So the reason she's saying that is because we really enjoyed going through a study of Jonah. I've heard a couple preachers do sermons on it here and there, but mostly like we hadn't done like an in-depth study of the story since we were children. And so you just get the typical like children's Bible
Jonah
book
got swallowed by a
story.
whale.
Yeah. And so we wanted to, dig in ourselves and learn what it actually said, and so that we could better understand it as adults. For our next little group of studies, we decided to do Noah because that's also a very well-known childhood biblical story, and you basically just get like the top points of the story. And so we wanted to dive a little bit deeper into those and figure out a little more about them.
So we're going to start in Genesis chapter 6.
I'm going to read to verse 8 and then Mariah's going to take over. It starts with increasing corruption on earth. When man began to multiply on the face of the land and the daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any that they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man who I have created from the face of the land, man and animals, and creepeth things, and birds of the heaven, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord.
These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God, and Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh that corrupt their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark, 30 cubits, its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark and finish it to a cubit above, and set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on earth shall die, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds according to their kind, and of the animals according to their kind. Of every creeping thing of the ground, according to its kind, 2 of every sort shall come in to you to keep them alive. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up. It shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this, and he did all that God commanded him.
Okay, so we'll start out with like the first couple verses. It says, When man began to multiply on the face of the land, and the daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any that they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thought of his heart was only evil continually. Basically, it starts out pointing out that there was something going on that God did not agree with. Sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they had relations and had children with them, and that created the Nephilim. And it says the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards. So in case nobody has a background of Nephilim, or maybe you do, I'm just going to go ahead and read the commentary on what that says, because I think I could be wrong, but I think it's kind of a little bit of a controversial topic where there's not enough information about it to really say this is for sure what this is and why it's in here. All we know is what is here. All curiosities can be answered later on whenever we're in heaven. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and read the commentary on that, and then we'll know what most theologians think about it, I guess. The meaning of this term is uncertain. It occurs elsewhere in the Old Testament only in Numbers 13:33, where it denotes a group living in Canaan. If both passages refer to the same people, then the Israelite spies in Numbers 13:33 are expressing their fear of the Canaanites by likening them to the ancient men of renown. So it's saying that when the Israelite spies went to spy out a city, and then we're talking about how the men were so huge and how they looked like ants compared to them or whatever. This is saying that they may have been talking about the same Nephilim type or group of people. Although in Hebrew, Nephilim means fallen ones, the earliest Greek translator rendered it to giants, or giantess, which means giants. This idea may have been mistakenly deducted from Numbers 13:33. One must be cautious about reading it back into the present passage. The Nephilim were mighty men, or warriors, as such, may well have contributed to the violence that filled the earth. So that's what we know about that.
So God saw the intentions of the heart, and the intentions were always evil, like continuously evil.
Well, we always try to find the good in somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But could you imagine God looking down on people that he created and only seeing evil, except for Noah, which is why I guess
crazy.
Yeah.
And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals, and creeping things, and birds of the heaven. For I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. The commentary said that sometimes regretted was meant as sorrow or sad, like God felt sadness that he had created all these things and they had become evil.
This little grouping of verses kind of reminds me of how, like, I'm not saying that I'm like an artist or anything, but I like to do creative things. I like to paint sometimes, and I like to, anything artistic or creative. And sometimes when you're doing something like that, you get halfway through it and you mess up a little bit of something, or something doesn't look just right how you wanted it or how you intended it for it to be. And you just, if it's on paper, crumple it up and throw it away. And if it's on a canvas, you just kind of toss it to the side and say, maybe I'll come back to it another day.
Or
and then
you paint over it.
Or you let it dry and then you completely paint over it and do something else with it. So it just kind of reminds me of like looking at something that you created and something that you wanted it to be, and it not living up to those standards, and just being like over it and be like, toss it out. Start over. Kind of sad to think about somebody creating something so beautiful and awesome as what the world is, and then just want to throw it all out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame him. I mean,
no.
He doesn't want to look upon evil. That's why he sent Jesus to give people a way out and to be able to have relationships with people without all that evil. But I don't know, just weird to think about, I guess.
But Noah was the one that God chose to continue on with life because he was a faithful servant to God.
This says, Noah is distinguished from the rest of humanity. Apart from Noah, the only other person in the Old Testament who is described as finding favor in the eyes of the Lord is Moses.
Possibly Abraham.
And possibly Abraham. Placed on par with Moses, Noah is rescued from the looming annihilation. So starting at verse 9, it says, These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God, and Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all the flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So the first couple verses there are just pointing out that Noah was a righteous man. It says blameless in his generation. So I don't know if that's saying like he was less evil than those around him, or if he was like, because it says in his generation. So is that saying, well, it's good for where he's at? Or is that saying he was like absolutely like pure white, blameless? I don't know. Let's see. It doesn't say anything about.
The commentary says the Hebrew for blameless conveys the sense of being perfect without evident flaw, although not necessarily sinless.
Like his heart is right. And that's what it says like about the others.
They had evil hearts.
God could see their hearts, and he knew their hearts were evil. So God could also see Noah's heart, and his heart was more pure. So, and where it says Noah walked with God, I think that just kind of points to he was trying to do right. He had a relationship with God. He revered God.
But at the end of what she read, God is just ready to end all flesh because he can see so much evil. When he calls out to Noah, he gives him specific instructions on how to build the ark. So I'm going to read about that. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Make rooms in the ark and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark, 300 cubits, its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. Make a roof for the ark and finish it to a cubit above, and set the door of the ark in its side. Make it with lower, second, and third decks.
He's let Noah know he is going to spare him and his family. And so this is how he is going to spare them. And so Noah just needs to follow these instructions now. Whenever he's describing like the size of the ark and stuff, it's in cubits. And so for us, that's hard to understand. But here in the commentary, it kind of breaks down those measurements and puts them into terms that we can understand a little bit better. So we're going to kind of go over those a little bit.
So for us, the measurements of the ark would have been, the length of it would have been 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high, yielding a displacement of about 43,000 tons. Oh my goodness.
So it says the inside capacity would have been 1.4 million cubic feet with an approximate total deck area of 95,700 square feet.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's
huge.
Huge.
But I mean, think about all the animals that he's got.
Yeah, that's true. Think about like whenever we were kids and the story of Noah and the ark, it's like, oh, he just threw a couple animals on there and his family and he went.
Yeah, but
like it's huge.
There's
so many animals.
Like so many types of animals.
But when you're a kid, you only think about like the animals that they show in the picture, like a zebra and a tiger and a lion and a bear,
giraffe.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you think of, maybe 10 different types of
animals.
animals.
Yeah, not like every single animal that's out there.
Yeah, that's crazy. So starting at 17, it says, "For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, your wife and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. 1 of the birds according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, of every creepeth thing on the ground according to its kind. 2 of every sort shall come in to you to keep them alive. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up. It shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him."
So God here is greatly expressing to Noah that everything that he does not put on the ark is going to die. And he is wanting him to preserve 2 of every species of animals and also his family.
Would he have to get like every type of bird or just 1 pair of birds?
Of birds according to their kind.
According to their kinds.
Yeah. So I'd say
so
every
2 of every
bird.
type.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
So every
If you know more about that, leave it in the comments below. We're interested.
So even bugs.
I don't know. It says every creeping thing.
Every creeping thing. Bugs are creeping.
Oh man, could you imagine?
Could you imagine having an ark full of bugs? Yuck.
I don't want to be there. Better than drowning, but.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he's just telling Noah that he's going to spare him and his wife and their children, their families, and he's going to establish a covenant with him, and he's putting him in charge of taking care of the animals. So he's pretty much responsible for making sure that mankind and animal kind makes it out of this flood. That's a very large responsibility.
Yes.
And everybody probably thought Noah was crazy.
I'd say everybody kind of just looked at Noah like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
He tells them to make sure they take every type of food that is eaten, because they're going to need it to survive, and also they're going to need it to feed all the animals so that they will survive.
Oh, gopher wood is an unknown kind of tree.
I heard it told that Noah used all the gopher wood to make the ark. That's why there's no more gopher wood on the earth. I think that it's probably a type of wood that might still be on the earth. They just had a different name for it.
Yeah, but think about it.
Or maybe there was only...
Think about it. Trees are living...
She's one of those people.
Trees are living things, right?
Right. So they could have gotten taken out in the flood.
So could they have gotten taken out in the flood?
Yeah. And then God just didn't replenish that type of tree.
Yeah.
I wonder if they took seeds with them.
I don't know.
I wonder, because they would need something to start regrowing food after the flood.
We wanted Noah.
We wanted Noah.
Seeds.
Did you take seeds? Did you? That would have been the smart, logical thing to do, but maybe they didn't even think about that. Maybe they didn't.
Maybe we're just thinking to do it.
Maybe they just assumed that God was going to take care of them, and they knew that in their hearts, and so they didn't fret about the future, stuff like that. But could you just imagine Noah's wife in the ark being like, what are we going to do after we land? Like, what? Or like while he's building an ark for 100 years, like, what even?
At the end of chapter 6, Noah did all that God commanded him to do.
So he's going to start building an ark. Yep. If you guys have any biblical explanations for any of the questions that we ask, or any of the things that we were like, wonder about that, leave them in the comments below.
Yeah, we'd love to know what you guys know.
Yeah. Or if you have a different commentary.
Yeah.
That might have more answers in it than what ours had in it. We would love for you guys to share. So that is it for this Bible study. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And
next week we will dive into chapter 7. If you guys do enjoy our Bible studies, be sure to join us again next Monday. We also post videos on Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesdays are faith-based videos. We just finished a book called Anxious for Nothing by John MacArthur. If you want to check those out, they're also on the channel. And on Fridays, we do fun stuff. We really never know what we're going to do.
Usually like DIY, food, fashion, crafts, makeup, anything like that that just is fun for us to do and just kind of relax and be silly and have fun together. That's the goal, just to be silly and have fun together. So we hope you guys will enjoy watching some of those videos.
If you guys do like our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to it. And if you want to be notified when we upload, be sure to hit the little bell after you subscribe.
We hope you have a good day, have a good week, and don't forget to shine. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.